NE8AL. Good evening, Richard. NE8AL, NZ8 Charlie. What you got? Good signal tonight. Well, so do you, sir. 20 over, but it's kind of noisy tonight. It sure is. You look at the radar screen. It's not so great. I'm going to give you about 25 over right now. Yeah, you're right there at 20. All right. Well, that sounds pretty good for just our broken down old used rig. Oh, I thought you were going to say broken down old used operator. Read back correct.
I got both of you at 30 over. Good evening, NTAZ.
Good evening, Scott.
Hello, radio. Am I keying up the amp? Doesn't look like it.
You're right at S9 for me, Scott.
Let's see if it keys up now. It should be a little better. NTAZ.
10 over. You got a lot of bass there, Scott.
Well.
Am I getting that right, Bill? Well, I can't really tell initially. After Scott starts talking, typically if he's got an issue, I can tell it then, but not right away.
Yeah, let me look at something here. I don't see anything out of order, but I'm not sure. I've been on digital this week, so I'm not sure if I got some setting wrong or not. Usually it doesn't mix or match. Still sound bassy to you guys?
It does to me. Yeah, a little bit on the bassy side, Scott. You don't have the brightness that you normally do.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I have to look around. Huh.
W9XQ, good evening. W9XQ, NE8AL. Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Dick. Good morning, Scott. Good morning. Good evening. You're wired in a certain way, aren't you? Yes, I guess I am. I didn't even take a nap as fast as this, so I don't know why I said that. Yeah, I didn't have one today either, so I'm going to be hurting in a little while. Yeah, I'm going to take a nap in about 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, that's the one I'm afraid of, and it's going to start not in 2 or 3 hours. I remember when I was working, depending on the interest of the particular meeting, sometimes those naps would be there, and boy, it was a struggle to pretend like I wasn't falling asleep. Yeah, I know what you mean. Boy, that's for sure. Many times.
You got a good signal tonight, Mark.
Sound better. Sounds good. Glad to hear that. See, there's about 500 watts. You're over tonight, Mark.
Yeah, you're 20 over and Bill's 30.
Well, Bill, you were 15 over, and Scott, you were 15 over. You're 20 that time. Good band conditions, except for the noise. Scott, you corrected your problem.
Yeah, I made a little adjustment on the EQ, but I don't know if I made a change here recently or not, but I moved the bass a little less.
It sounds a lot better, Scott.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Yeah, Mark said he agreed. So this morning I wound up waking up a little bit earlier than I should have in that 4 or 5 o'clock range, and a real good copy on a guy from Perth, Australia, and if I couldn't, it's just too bad I couldn't get a word in edgewise, because I was hearing it pretty good, and I bet they might have heard me, maybe even barefoot. On 40 meters, I'll bet. Yeah, it was 40 meters. Somewhere around 71, 37 or something like that, 71, 38. Yeah, I've had a few of those contacts early in the morning, and it's pretty neat when it happens. And even barefoot, it's really possible. I had a QSO on 40 meters from the other location during the day a few days ago. I can't remember what day it was, but it was a guy outside of New York State or New York City excursion. Scottsdale. And we had a really interesting conversation, and there was another station came on, set of stations came out about kilohertz below us, and we didn't realize there was a net, and I don't know if it was a formal net or not, but those guys were amazingly courteous. It was just a delight. And then after I got off with that other guy, I did a couple errands, came back, and they kept on talking about how interesting our conversation was, and I was tempted to jump in and say, I can fill you in on more of it, but they had their own club. The way it works sometimes. Yeah, pretty nice. So I'm getting closer on this thing about this platform for the tower, and the guy actually has got the material he needed for the next step. He thought he was going to have to order 20 feet of it, and I will stop by 2 hours a day after for my weekly haranguing of him, and to keep moving on this thing. I sort of remember it was November when I first started talking to him, but it's starting to smell like it might get done, but I did a little hunting around to see if I can find a rotator, and just nobody's got them. It's just like everything else. Nobody's got stuff. Where are you looking, Dick? Well, I looked at the MFJ site. I looked at RNL. I looked at DX Engineering. I didn't look at anybody else, but I looked at the big ones, and I just didn't want to spend a lot of time chasing others. You might find something used. I don't want used. I got used. Okay, gotcha. So it's interesting that I was looking at the connector on that thing, and I had thought it was going to be a round connector like I'm not familiar with, and I have to deal with it. But it actually has, this is a replacement rotor. They have a replacement rotor. You can buy just that, assuming it gets zapped, And it's got the 810 Jones connector, which is what I got out there. And boy, that sure would be nice. I was able to plug it right in. I don't know if the connections would be the same, but it sure would be nice. So the latest I've heard is the end of November is a prognostication. I even spent a little time looking at antennas, and I've been talking about replacing the Wilson, which is 40 plus years old, with the Cushcraft MA5B, which is a two element for 6 through 20 meters, and it's pretty lightweight. And when I looked at the construction of it, I'm not so sure about that thing. So I looked at Mosley, and they've got some stuff that I might consider that, or we'll just take it down for another.
You look at the one I sent you on Step Hour?
Yeah, it's still awful big. Yeah, I want to go down in the sidings and wait and not up.
Well, if you didn't get the 40 meter one, it would be probably about the same size you got.
Yeah, but boy, it's a scary design, and the neighbors might not like it. Who cares? Well, my neighbors to the east have got to put a for sale sign on their house, so and supposedly they got somebody in contract, but there's an issue with a lien someplace, so we'll see how well that sale goes. Sounds like somebody's got some upside down, even though they're more than doubling their money. Sounds like there's some upside downness.
They don't stay on the market long, that's for sure.
Say again, Scott?
I said they don't stay on the market very long, that's for sure.
That is a fact. I think we have 5 houses on my street sell already, and maybe this one would be the 6th one if I keep my count right. Your street's not that long either, is it? It's not, and I don't, well, okay, I have one more if I go in the further east part of it. It's 7 of them. People probably moving on up. Like that old TV show from the 70s there about the Jeffersons moving on up. To the east side. To the east side. That's what Mary wants me to do. Moving on up to the east side, 2.5 miles away. going to convince you of that one of these days. She's a persistent person. It sounds like it. Had the 50th college reunion this weekend, and I made a point of not going to any of the official stuff, which has been my norm, because I didn't have anything I was interested in, and I knew that we would have some informal stuff where I get a chance to meet the people I wanted to meet anyhow. And we had something like that on Thursday or Friday, and had something on Sunday, and so that was semi-enjoyable. And I'm looking around the table, and Mary's looking around the table, so she's a young one at 67, and she's looking around the table there, and everybody in my class is 72 years old, and looks around and says, man, all these old people here, except for you, of course, Richard. She's being kind. I think I did look better than the rest of them. Well, that's not what I was saying. But we all look old, don't we, Dick? So there was one joke I could tell on the air that they said about one of the guys was he got in front of the mirror and not liking what he was seeing in the mirror. He said, "Oh, I'm kind of looking fat, kind of looking dumpy," and just kind of depressed. And I asked his wife to say something good about him. And she said, "Yeah." She said, "You got 20/20 eyesight." Okay, nobody's laughing. I turned my box off so you couldn't hear it. Yeah, I was laughing, but I didn't hit the key. How about you, Scott?
I had to get up out of my chair.
Yeah, I have never been famous about knowing how to tell jokes, I can tell you that. Well, you keep trying, Dick, one of these days. I remember, like, centuries ago, you telling me about the Joke Tellers Convention, Bill. Well, you're going to have to remind me, because I sure don't remember it. Oh, you do, too. No, I don't. No, I really don't. All the jokes were numbered. And everybody would get up there at the mic and just tell a number and everybody crack up. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, now I remember some of it. Yeah, and then the amateur says, well, this looks pretty easy. I'm going to come up there, I'm going to say 27, and the audience is just flat. And so first it goes off stage, he checked it and asked one of the experienced joke tellers, he said, what's the problem? He says, well, you got to know how to tell a joke. Some people definitely have a knack for it, and some people don't, that's for sure. It's all about timing. Well, when people told a lot of jokes directly instead of just over the email, like many years ago, and I used to write down the punchlines, and that would remind me of the rest of the joke. And I'd carry a list of punchlines that I could use at various times. I used to do that, but I forget how you got to the punchline. Well, once I heard the punchline or read the punchline, I could remember the rest of the joke. Did you guys hear about the 13-13-13 joke? Not yet. Yeah, the guy's walking down the street. He's walking past the state institution, and of course it had a real high fence, and he couldn't see through it or anything, and he could hear all these people over the other side going 13, 13, 13, 13. They just kept on saying that. So he kept on walking, and he sees a hole in the fence and everything, so he looks in to see what in the world is going on. And as soon as he looks in there, somebody pokes him in the eye, and everybody says, 14, 14, 14. Oh, that's good. Yeah. You know, back in my early days going to the ham radio convention, the Hamvention there, one year I dragged Kendra along, and we did the big dinner where they had 1,000 people or forever chicken or whatever. And the speaker was Gene Shepard, who is a ham and an avid ham at that. Deceased now, but he's the author of that movie, The Christmas Story, and some other things too. And he used to do a lot of writing for newspapers newspapers, and he was just, I'm sorry, he was a radio announcer, and he was just really a great storyteller. And I remember telling the story about some sort of radio they got, and I remember this story goes back to like late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And he's out there talking about somebody out there, and talking about the radio, and then talking about the radio head. And everybody, of course, in the audience got cracked up on that, because that's what radios used to do. Especially Swan. Yeah, but my novice rig was worse. Not only did it do that, but it had a chirp to go along with it.
Yeah, I had a Kenwood 820 that had a chirp on CW. It was awful.
I would not have expected that for a 520. 820.
820, yeah. I think I even sent it back to Kenwood after I first got it. They didn't fix it.
Didn't John have an 820, Dick? He did. He had a 520 and then an 820. That's right, and I think on either the 520 or the 820, it was 820, I think he had some sort of intermittent on that thing, and he would bang on the radio and solve the problem temporarily, and he'd be talking on the radio, and all of a sudden you're bang, 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 and we'd all kind of laugh. And he always ran Vox, so that's why you heard it. Exactly. I think he got zapped. Didn't he get a lightning strike or something? Had to send it back to Kenwood? He did, and I don't know if that predated that irregularities or not, but yeah, he did have a bunch of problems at radio, but boy, sure did sound good when it worked. Yeah, it did. I think the 870 sounded even better.
I thought about him this weekend. I think they had their balloon fest over this past weekend.
I think he was actually in Texas. I had a conversation with a buddy of his on Facebook a week or so back, and he was going to meet in Austin this weekend, I think, for a motorcycle race. Did you try using Facebook today, Bill? Well, he tried a couple of times, but it was down. It sure was, and you know what? Yesterday was the 60 Minutes thing there with the whistleblower talking about how poorly they were doing things, and she had a whole bunch of documents that had been spirited out of there, and you know, it's probably just a coincidence that I heard him on 60 Minutes this morning. I listened to the podcast of it while I was doing weights this morning, and 60% of all internet connected devices, and I don't know exactly what they count as internet connected devices, I guess things with keyboards, 60% of those in the world are using Facebook, which is just astounding. Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah, I'm part of that 40%. Yeah, that's the same with me. That's asked me to wait time. I rarely get on Facebook. Well, I had to get on because my daughter put something out there for my granddaughter's Brownie Troop, doing some sales right now, and I was trying to get on that site to order something, and finally did that just before we got on the radio here tonight. Yeah, I'm trying to connect right now, and it is not connecting. Yeah, it may be down again, but it was up for a little while, at least long enough for me to get the link to that website, and I'm glad it did, because I don't have to worry about that anymore. Did you hear how they confirmed that they were down? She's been on it all day on her phone, and she hasn't had any problems. Say again, Dick? Did you hear how they confirmed that they had been down? No. They put it on Twitter. Oh, they haven't been banned from Twitter? Yeah, I thought that was pretty ironic. Tampa just came back and said something went wrong. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty obvious answer, doesn't it? Yes, it is. It says we're working on it, and we'll get a fix as soon as we can. Well, at least that's an honest answer. Remember how it used to be when you were working with Microsoft, like in Windows 95, 98, even XP days, when they had the little timer bar that would go across and tell you it was 10% done, 20% done, 30% done, and all of a sudden it'd zoom across the side, or it would say at 20% done and stay at 20% for a long time, and then then eventually creep across. That really was not a very good predictor. No, it still does that sometimes whenever it's doing the updates and everything. Yeah, that's true. I'm starting to have my intermittent on the receive side of the amplifier where I take it into standby and then I can hear again. So I think I'm going to have to get in there and kind of burnish those relay connections, but I'm not sure I got a contact cleaner here. So that in two places is hard. So that relay is energized in standby, or not energized in standby? Yeah, well, the deal is that it seems to hold on to some sort of voltage, which kind of keeps it in a kind of limbo state. I believe I remember measuring it one time, so there's something else wrong with the design, but when I clean the relay, at least it fixes up for a while. And that's a 572? This is the 3X500 amplifier, the HitKit SB1000. Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry about that. Well, on my TR relay in the homebrew, it's a 100-volt DC relay, and I energize that with negative 100 volts, and in receive, that 100 volts is applied to the tubes to cut them off, and then as soon as you activate that relay, that 100 volts goes away from the tubes and energizes the relay. Yeah, it's pretty slick. Is that your own design or something you picked up? I actually stole that from HitKit, the SB200. Really? I'll tell you what, that SB200, if that thing had done 160, you've heard this before, if that thing had done 160, I'd still be owning it. Yeah, Roger. Yeah, that thing performed real well, especially once I hooked up the 220. That thing was doing in the 700 watt range on 40 and 80, and close to that on 20. It was just, we got a good 220 on it. It was a great amplifier. Well, the 572s were pretty good tubes. Oh, they were. It was a good design. The amp was a little bit loud from a fan noise perspective, but it was still acceptable.
220 or 221, Dick?
Oh, I had the 220, so I had the 10 meters.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I had. It was a workhorse. A pair of 3500s, right?
No, a pair of 572s.
Oh, well, which one had the pair of 3500s? That's the one I had.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said 220. No, I had the 200. I'm sorry. I had the 200, which was the two 572s.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I had the 220 or 221. I forget which, but that's a workhorse.
Yeah, well, of course, that had two tubes. Did it actually come up with a full 1500 or something a little bit less? Just
a tad less, I think.
The argument that Meritron likes to make with the AL80 is they get almost the same amount of power out of it because they've got a really beefy power supply. And you remember like the old L4s, they had a pair of 3X500s. They didn't really come all that close to 1500 watts. Well, the AL82 does come up with 1500 watts. It's got 2 3500s in it. Yeah, I bet it was. The Meritron people really were very good at designing it. I sure hope they survive. I'm sure they will. I don't know, they got off a long time without product. Well, the supply issues, labor issues right now, there's a lot of things going on right now. NZE, Joey. AL?
NTZ.
W9X2. So, Bill, you've heard some part of this phone story, and you other guys have, excuse me, I finally got a new phone. I really liked my existing phone, and then I realized that it's 4 years old, and the security was 2 years out of date, and it was not getting any kind of updates with Android 8, and Android 10 is current, and right around the corner is 11. So I've been shopping for the phone. It's one like Bill has, and I kind of kept on getting misinformation about what the characteristics of that thing were. So I spent a bunch of time wrestling back and forth about which one to get. And I went to the first Target store, and the guy wasn't really helpful. I said, well, check the other store. They have more. And the guy was pretty doggone knowledgeable in what parts he didn't know he was willing to find. And it was great because they did the migration for me. I mean, I still had to make a few changes to it, but they did the bulk of it. And boy, that was pretty good for $150. It's not bad, is it? It is not bad. And the only thing is I'm waiting for the case. I ordered a case from the Consumer Cellular, and it's a kit. I get a case and a car charging cord, which I don't care about the car charging cord. But they have the case, and the whole thing is like $11 delivered. So it's an $11 case. And I know I got the $3 case on the last one, but that was back when the operations from China and back were fast. Well, we got $4 cases on our new phones, Dick, and they came from California, and we had them in 2 or 3 days. Oh, okay. Well, I overspent on that. Yeah, no, you get the charging cable, and that's worth some money. So I picked up a couple cables for it because the cable is different. It's USB Charlie now, and so I picked up a couple, 3 of those, which I probably overbought, but they had them for like $6.99 or something like that at Target. In fact, that's less than a Micro Center's price, which surprised me. Then just today we went over to Micro Center, and I got a 3-pack of adapters from USB Micro B to Charlie for any of the other cables I got hanging around. So I kind of overdid on that, but the whole thing has been a pretty inexpensive operation. And will your new phone do 4K video, Dick? I don't know that, but I know it drives the navigation in the car, and it'll have an FM radio. It'll play tunes off of that port over from the SSD. It's nice. I moved everything to the SSD, and then they put it over there. Everything followed. And the only downside of that is the pictures lost their index, so the pictures all say yesterday, but that's okay. They're mostly backed up elsewhere anyhow. And the thing we're going to try tonight is make sure it works with the hotspot, which I'm sure will work, and something else. But no, I'm real pleased about this thing. It's a good each dollar.
Which one did you get, Dick?
This is a Moto G Power, and it's a 2021 version. There was a 2020 version. I think that's what you have, right, Bill? Yeah, it does have it. And you don't have the 3.5 millimeter on it, right? Yeah, it does. Oh, okay, good. Well, the FM radio app comes with it. It uses the connector. It uses the cord from the headset for the antenna. Works great. The audio is great, and so far I'm pretty pleased. Like I said, the other thing I'm being careful about is that it's really slick, and I want to make sure I don't drop it. Yeah, that was my fear, and that's why we had to get big cases for it, just to keep it in your hands. I bought a tablet here recently too, and it was really slick, and it's got a whole lot more weight than a phone. And I had to get a case for that too, just so I wouldn't have to worry about dropping it all the time. Yeah, I need the hotspot for it because my 2 minis do not have a cell plan on them. They could, but I didn't want to spend $20 a month for something I use almost never. And so if I'm on the road and I need to get an update of data for my aviation app, I can hotspot over to my phone, and it really doesn't take up that much data either. So that's why I skinned that cat. Yeah, that's a good idea. It's the way I ran, not often, but I have the capabilities of supporting my Pi-Star through my phone hotspot and doing Wirelink that way. it's the same thing I do in the car, and it's really funny. It works pretty well with the Pi-Star, and but other things it doesn't work very well with. So Pi-Star must not take very much data or the bandwidth. I don't think I have very fast bandwidth on my hotspot on my phone. Well, I sure didn't have any trouble operating with mine that way, so I'm sure it's okay. And one of the issues that I had with the previous phone and the one before that as well is they support both T-Mobile and AT&T, but they want to take T-Mobile for consumer cellular because I don't know why, but I suspect it's because it's a better deal for them. And but I've got the AT&T, and this phone came with the AT&T SIM on it, which was great. And they confirmed, looking at the model number of the SIM, that it is AT&T. Because when I go someplace that's off the beaten path, T-Mobile works well along the interstates, but it has got no coverage in the hinterlands, and oftentimes I need that when I fly to someplace in the hinterlands. Well, I shared this information with you in my email, Dick, but there's a really neat app out there that's called iMedia Share. And if you've got videos on your phone and you'd like to display them on your TV set, you can use iMedia Share, and it's just as slick as anything. It'll go out and get any file that you've got on your phone, but it will also, I've got a pretty big video library that's router-based, and when I activate that search, it actually activates the app in the TV set to go out to that app and play those videos. So it's really a slick app, and it's I don't know if it's iPhone based or not, but it's definitely Android. And if you have a need for something like that, it's really a great app. Yeah, I don't want to do much video. I don't want to do much video, but you probably do because you got Grangel. Well, yeah, we do. We've got quite a bit of things, and we don't see it that often to do videos, but yeah, it's really slick, and but if you don't have a need for it, then there's not much point in it. But if you do, it's a great app.
Yeah, I noted it down. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I'm looking at it there too, and that might be worth checking out. Yeah, as long as you've got a fairly new TV set that I'm sure it's Blu-ray based, you're going to be fine. In fact, it automatically found my TV set the first time I was trying it out. It automatically found my TV set. I pushed the button and bam, the video appeared right up on the screen. It was great. When I was integrating the phone with the car, that was a little bit of a struggle as it had been for the first time around. First of all, I had to find it, figure out how to get it to forget the other phone and have it start looking at this one. And I kept on futzing around with it, and I honestly don't know what I did to make it work, but it works. And I've used it a couple times yet today, and so it works. And so I got my Android Auto on the Android phone, and then that is what the car is affecting. Yeah. And it'll do great navigation, Nick, if you ever need to find someplace with the Waze app or Google Maps. Yeah, I use it all the time. I actually have a GPS. And it's kind of funny because I use the regular GPS. About the only thing I really use it for is my speed, because it's a little more accurate than what the car is. But the actual navigation and everything, I use the Android Auto. Yeah, it's interesting when we were at that reunion where we're seeing some of the old folks there. In my class, there were an awful lot of flip phones, and and we were talking about some of the things you saw in people's cars for old people. You remember in the old days you used to have the little feelers for the curb, and then after that they wound up having compasses up on the dashboards, and then of course you still see some folks there with the old style Garmin or TomTom phone or GPS on their down the dashboard, but now modern people just use their phones or what's in the dashboard of the car. Yeah, like I say, I still use my Garmin. I put it up there on the dash whenever we're traveling, going very far. And like I say, about the only thing I really use it for is just for the speedometer, because it's got a nice big display and I can see it easily rather than have to look down there on the dash for the speed. Yeah, I got one of those. I don't use it much anymore, but I got one of those, and it's got a lifetime database, which I probably need to update because it's probably been about 4 or 5 years. I remember taking it in a plane one time, and of course it's having a conniption fit because it's trying to keep me on the roads, which of course I'm not on the roads. And then I get a chance to record 150 or 160 miles an hour. That's kind of fun to look at. And I'll tell you, the first time that I went up Interstate 69, of course, for the last 7 or 8 years, 9 years, they've been building Interstate 69 between Evansville and Indianapolis. And the first time I went up through there, I had not updated mine. And that doggone thing just had all kinds of problems when I was going up through there trying to find out where I was. Well, the nice thing about the Waze app, too, is it tells you when there's problems ahead. An accident, car on the side of the road, police, emergency vehicles, that kind of thing. It's pretty cool that way. Yeah, I generally use Waze over Google Maps for that reason alone. Yeah, that's even if you know where you're going, that's good sometimes. Yep, I agree. Mary winds up being a good navigator. What's that? Mary winds up being a good navigator. I don't have to have a display. She's got it. What does your car support? Like if you're using Android Auto, Dick, it integrates with your display on your car? It does. That's pretty cool, I think, isn't it? It is, and I'd like to try with Mary's phone, but she's reluctant to put her phone on there because I can see that there's a configuration change if you have to swap between phones in the car, and so it is. I'm not using the Apple Play part of that. Both of those came with the car. Yeah, Roger. Android Auto and Apple Play are both in those new ones. Yeah, both of them in there. You have to get the app, of course, for the Android, but yeah. NHTZ. Wow. Steve, it's been a long time.
There's Rare DX. Good evening.
It has been a very long time. This is the first time I've been on the radio in probably 2.5 years. See if I remember his call sign. NT8Z, I remember that one. NT8Z, NZ8 Charlie. Good to hear you, Steve. Good to hear you, Steve. This is Nick, in case you forgot. And, but you are breaking up just a little bit. You doubled with him. Say again, Steve? Yeah, are you hearing me okay, Bill? Yeah, I'm hearing you just fine. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, what call sign do you have for me? I got J8AYO. You just dropped the A, didn't you? No, about 4 years ago, I changed my car to NE8AL, November Echo 8 Alpha Lima, Steve. Gotcha. I remember that now. I'd forgotten that. NE8AL. Gotcha. It's good to hear everybody. I spent all day down here in the shack. This place is a catch-all for everybody in the house, and it took me most of the day to get it cleared out to where I could even get in here, but it was worth it. Some things done, and thought I'd better get on the radio and see who all was there. Well, Steve, the last time you and I talked was January 5th, 2018, and the time before that was May the 11th, 2017, so it's been a while.
Yeah, well, I was pretty preoccupied there for a couple of years with cancer treatments and everything going on with that, and I really just lost interest completely in the radio. And I was actually surprised when I turned it on that all of my presets and everything was still in this thing.
Well, you sound good, Steve. NTHZ, good to hear you. I always enjoy your pictures on Facebook. Your wife has the most beautifulest flyers I've seen on Facebook anyway.
Yeah, we were following you for forever, Steve. I ditto what Scott said.
Yeah, thank you. She's puts a lot of time into it, and we've still got a lot of them blooming yet. I'm sure when the weather breaks, a lot of them's going to go, but right now they're still blooming really well. Dick, how are you doing?
I'm doing adequately here. Steve, let me turn the amplifier back on. Yeah, I'm doing adequately. Plenty to talk about, but not today. We'll get into catching up on some of that stuff later there. And we got a new guy in the group joining us from Evansville, Indiana, W9XQ. And yeah, we've been talking to you, Steve, for I don't know, a couple of centuries, I think. So, Mark, let's see if you can hear Steve there. W9XQ, the group NZHI. All right, Steve. Well, yeah, Steve, I am hearing you. I could barely hear you when you first came in, but it sounds like you're starting to come up there. Would you give me your call sign again?
Yes, November 8th, Tango Zulu, NHTZ. Kind of up and down a little bit, but I'm confident you're okay.
Gonna be hard to remember, Mark.
Did you say that was November 8th, Tango Zulu?
Roger.
Kind of similar to Scott's, isn't it?
Pretty close.
Yeah, we used to get on the CenturyNet. Of course, Tom was on it back in the day, but Steve would get on and I would get on, and we'd have them all confused.
Yeah, but for a while, we got 3 Zs here, don't we, Steve, Mark, Scott?
Yeah, that we do. That we do.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw you, Steve, is when I got a chance to fly up there to your house, and we did some sort of antenna work and some climbing and then some wire stuff, as I recall.
Yeah, that's what I remember from the last time I saw you physically. And I don't know, I've still got, all I've got up in the air right now is just an inverted L off my tower. I used to have a loop up and all that other stuff, but the inverted L works good for me on just about everything I want to do, so it's easy to maintain, and that's what I've been using.
And you're still using the 590?
Yep, the 590, it's like new yet, because I haven't hardly ever used it, but yeah, it's hanging in there. I love this radio. It really works nice, and like I said, I was really glad that the backup battery remembered all of my presets and stuff. I got them wrote down someplace, but I'm not sure exactly where right now. If it had been dead, I'd have been hurt.
What's your amplifier? Remind me.
AL80B.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm using the Seedkit 100 or 1000, which is AL80BA in disguise.
Yeah, roger that. I've got it powered up here, but I'm not using it right now. If everybody's hearing me on 100 watts, okay, I ain't gonna mess with it.
5 to 10 over here, Steve.
Roger that. You're about the same here, Bill.
Yeah, you're about 20 over here, so good signal. How about your son? Is it Nathan? Is that his name? How's he doing?
Say again?
Is your son named Nathan? I can't remember, but how's he doing?
He's doing okay. He's not doing any radio. He just never really got into it. He's got his extra class, but he just never got into it. maybe he will someday. I don't know. But yeah, he's doing good. He's head tech for our local wireless broadband internet service here, and he's been with them for, well, ever since he got out of college. He's been with them for somewhere between 10 and 15 years. And he enjoys doing that, so I'm glad he does.
Well, we saw you guys at Dayton back in 2000 or 2001. Yeah, he was just still a teenager, I think.
Yeah, he's 42 years old now.
Wow, imagine that. Well, good deal. I knew he was a ham, but glad to hear he moved up to extra. And you never know, he might get on it one of these days.
Yeah, we might try and get him over here sometime. He's, I don't know where he's at right now. He's taking a shower or something, I think. He's still working class. He's not like some of us that are retired.
Yeah, I retired in the middle of 18, and it's okay.
Takes a little getting used to, but I've, other than my cancer battle for the last 7 years or so, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm hoping now, since I'm in remission, that I get to enjoy it a little bit more. But we can just get this COVID out of the way, and might help a little bit also.
Wouldn't that be nice?
You said that word remission there, Steve, and you put a smile on my face. Yeah, it's like I say, it took my father for 7 years with lymphoma, and it changed on me last year. It changed on me in 19 to a more aggressive type than what I did have, and they tried treating it at Zanesville, and nothing they could do out there totally got rid of it. So my oncologist at Zanesville with Genesis Healthcare said it's time for you to go to Cleveland Clinic. So he sent me up there, and I got a wonderful young lady. An oncologist up there. That's all she deals with is lymphoma. And she suggested they was going to do stem cell transplant to start with, and there's a series of chemo that you have to go through before the stem cell transplant. And they put me through that, and they did a PET scan, and it hasn't got rid of all the lymphoma yet. So she told me, she said, I don't think you're going to be a good candidate for that. And she suggested that we try a new therapy that's just been out a few years called T-cell therapy. And it worked. It put me in total remission. I've been in remission now since the 1st of December. And I just got a check last Monday, CT scan and blood work and all that stuff, and I'm still cancer-free.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
That is wonderful news.
You still got the mobile ham, Steve, in the truck?
No, I haven't had a mobile for, seems like forever.
Yeah, I didn't think you would, but I haven't either. I just have this rig here at the house, and I don't even mess with the mobile anymore.
I still got the screwdriver and all the stuff I can put one in, I guess. But, I don't know, mobile operating doesn't seem to interest me anymore.
Well, we finally talked Dick into getting a new radio, so he got an Icon 7300. And Mark here, Mark's had one for a while, and Mark's just got a new Onin 7000. But Dick just can't believe how great that 7300 is, right, Dick?
Well, I can. That's not what I'm using tonight, however. I'm in Studio B tonight, and so I'm still using the 746 Pro. But the 7300 at the Studio A is really great.
Mark, what part of Indiana
I live down in the southwest corner of Indiana, down by Evansville. I don't know how familiar you are with Evansville. I'm originally from Ohio. I'm originally from a town called New Lexington. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's kind of southeast of Zanesville.
Okay. Yeah, I lived in Bloomington, Indiana for about a year and a half after I got out of electronics school back in the early 70s. I was out there for about a year and a half working at the RCA plant, and then married my wife, and we're working on 50 years right now. In November will be 50. And we got homesick, and I got a job back home, so we moved back home after about a year and a half.
Yeah, well, I've been in Indiana. Let's see here. I think we've been in Indiana since '91. Actually, I was up in Terre Haute for about 6.5 years. Then I got transferred down to down here, and we've been down here since '97.
Roger that.
And the funny thing is, we really don't have any real desire to go back to Ohio. So the heart of everything, remember? That's what they say, but you know, it's I don't know. We just kind of got used to this area, so we'll probably stay here unless we end up going south permanently.
You done fishing for the year, Scott?
Yeah, I'm done with all the tournaments. I haven't winterized the boat or anything. I'll probably go out a couple more times and probably store it again down at Lake Cumberland down in Kentucky. So I still got to take it down there, but I probably won't get it down there till mid-November.
Yeah, we're winding down. Of course, we don't fish a whole lot, my buddy and I, but we fish for saugeye and sauger, walleye, and we're starting to wind down for the year. It's weather's going to get cold, and if I'm not comfortable, I don't fish.
Yeah, I understand that.
How'd you find us tonight, Steve?
Say again, Bill?
How did you find us tonight?
Well, I knew that you was probably going to be on 80 in the extra van, and I looked up at my paper up here, and it showed 3647, which I think maybe is where maybe it used to be, and there wasn't nobody there, so I just started looking.
Well,
So am I.
You know, last year we didn't stay on 160 very long. 80 held up pretty good for us.
Katie was actually much better than 160 for us.
Yeah, I haven't been, well, let's say, I haven't been on the radio, period, for well over 2 years, and probably longer than that since I've been on 160.
It was noisy here earlier, but it's sort of quieted down now.
Well, we got some good signals here, and it keeps that noise down.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm reading about S6 here now.
Yeah, I'm S9 tonight.
Yeah, I'm actually running an S8 here tonight.
Which antenna you on, Mark?
Double. It goes down to S3 for me.
Oh, boy. What antenna you running tonight, Mark?
I'm on the mystery antenna.
Yeah, okay. Good deal.
I'll tell you, I bought that magnetic loop antenna, and I had it up there last week, and I had it up kind of in a horizontal orientation, and wasn't really that impressed with it. It did okay, but it still wasn't as good as either the inverted L or the dipole. And so today I kind of lowered the tower and I put it in a vertical, and I've got it kind of pointing your direction, and it really didn't help things too much. So I'm thinking I really need to put a different coax on it. I'm hoping that'll help. I actually lose about 2 S units whenever I use it.
Yeah, but it should be a lot less than the signal to noise should be a lot lower.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is, it doesn't seem like it really is.
Wow.
Well, you know that time a few weeks back when we all got on the 160 antenna on 80 meters, we all had our signals were down, but the signal to noise was improved, and we showed we could all use our 160 antennas on 80 meters. Oh yeah, it does. Mine will work on 80 meters. It works better on 40 and 20, and actually on 10 it works. My inverted L works real well on 10. Well, when I'm on the higher bands on FT8, I usually use the inverted L because it does better.
I use it for 10 through 160, and it tunes up and works just fine for me.
Can we double move that there? Say again, Steve?
I said my 160 inverted L is the only antenna I've got in the air, and I use it 10 through 160, and it works good, tunes up good, and it hears pretty decent. It's quiet the way I've got it configured out here. I've got it off the tower, which is at the end of my one garage, and then a couple years ago I built a new garage, and that kind of puts the tower kind of in a corner, and my noise went down significantly, but I seem to still hear fine, and it seems to still get out okay, so I'm not complaining, but the vertical part of mine is about probably 35 feet, something like that. Not quite 40, but 35, 36 feet on the vertical, and the rest of it's horizontal out to a tree.
And it's next to metal buildings, isn't it, Steve? That's the way it was?
Yep, it's in between two metal pole buildings, kind of in the corner. The buildings, one at the end of one building, the east of the other building are 90 degrees to each other, with just a walkway in between the two buildings, and the towers attached to the end of the older building. I don't know. I got, as far as noise right now, I don't have anything showing on the meter whatsoever.
Do you still have a capacitor at the bottom?
No capacitor.
I know at one time I thought we had put a 1300 picofarad on there, didn't we?
Yeah, I still got it, but I tried it with it and without it, and I kind of thought it worked a little better without it. I could tune a little bit more bands and stuff than I could with it on there, so I took on it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. With the capacitor, it works better on 160, but poor on the rest of the band. So if you take it out, it becomes a better all-band antenna.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to use it for. It sings real good on 160 anyhow, and where my location and stuff is here, so I wanted it to be an all-band antenna, so that's why I removed it.
So those two buildings are probably your reflectors.
I would imagine they probably are, yeah.
The thing that would surprise me when we put that up initially, we put the capacitor at the bottom. When we were doing the capacitors in central and western Ohio, we were running around about 2,000 picofarads or so. I currently have got about 2,500 on mine now, but when we got to yours, it really, your ground is a lot different, and the 1,300 was what came out.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, that's all I'm running here, Steve's a 160 antenna, so it plays good on an old band, so I just keep using it.
Might as well. I tell you what, guys, this is good about that magic time there. It was great QSO tonight, and great signals from everybody. And Steve, really wonderful to hear from you, and wonderful to hear from that news that you got back in December of last year.